Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 75th monthly TWitWoW Q&A. It is September of 2022. More specifically, it is September 29th of 2022, and we have got a grand total of 19 questions this month. Hooray. All right, so let's get on into this thing. John, our first set of questions are, as usual, since Hypothesis stopped commenting, Super Blue.
All right, let's get these out of the way.
They're not nearly as bad as they usually are. First question: how do you feel about the Lord of the Rings movies?
Hate them. I'm not even trying to be dismissive to your question, Super Blue. Literally, I tell this story all the time, so I'm just going to tell it again just to pad out the question a little. I used to have this childhood friend. We used to go over each other's houses like every weekend. And at one point, I just kept going over to his house because they understandably didn't feel safe at my house anymore. And one day I go over there, and one of the Lord of the Rings movies is playing. I'm like, oh, cool, I'll try and give this a chance. Not even 5 minutes, dude. Not even 5 minutes. I could already just tell. I'm like, oh my god, there's like no action. You've got these beautiful aesthetics. And I will say, aesthetics are gorgeous. The world building in these fucking movies and in games like Final Fantasy, gorgeous, right? But where's the meat? Where's the meat? And yeah, I totally checked out. Now, we are going to watch Rings of Power at some point. Especially because apparently it makes a lot of rightists and particularly white supremacists like really angry, which makes me happy. So we'll probably check that out at some point. But yeah, as far as the canonical movies, I've never cared for them. What about you, bro? What do you got?
So here's the thing. I actually, when it first came out, I actually watched the first Lord of the Rings movie, The Fellowship of the Rings, but I was too young to get it. So I've actually, over the course of the last couple of years, gotten a renewed interest and a new, kind of revitalization of my willingness to watch the movies. So I would actually, if John, if you were willing, I would be willing to watch them, but it sounds like you're not willing at all.
No, brother, with me, like, you even got me to do, like, Harry Potter and stuff. Like, Lord of the Rings is one of the few movies that I'm putting my foot down, like, hard. Like, no, dude, I will never do that. It's just not my thing. I could tell. I would zone out so quick.
Okay.
But yeah.
It's just weird though because you love Wheel of Time.
Yeah, Wheel of Time was great. Like, yeah, just honestly, guys, I don't know if I'm pissing off any huge fandoms, but like, fuck Lord of the Rings. Just watch Wheel of Time. Like, and probably read the books. I've heard the books of Wheel of Time are fantastic. So like, yeah, just.
So here's what I don't get though. You loved Game of Thrones until the shitty ending. You love Wheel of Time. And I believe you're with me in wanting to watch Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves when that comes out in February or March or whatever.
I mean, I'm doing a D&D campaign right now in my family. I know you got one going on in the Discord. So
I'm just trying to pin down what about Lord of the Rings just makes you hate it so much because I feel like it's got a lot in common with all three of those things.
Sometimes there just isn't a reason, bro. Sometimes you just don't connect.
Okay.
And like, I just didn't feel connected to it. And now, granted, this was years ago. So maybe, tastes of all kinds change as you get older. Maybe I would be more open to it now, but, bro, there's got to be some fucking action, because what I saw, nothing going on. Just a lot of dialogue and a lot of walking and a lot about a ring.
So so this is more about, like, your disdain for RPGs. Like, you hate constant dialogue, monologues, talking, exposition, all that shit.
I fucking hate most RPGs. Like, so, like, bringing RPGs into cinema, who asked you to? And no. Just no. So, yeah, that's my little rant about that.
All right. But yeah, I'm more open to it. My thing, though, like, for me personally, Lord of the Rings strikes me as something that you can't just kind of casually enjoy. It's like...
Yeah.
If you're going to get into the Lord of the Rings, you're going to get fucking into the Lord of the Rings. Like, you're going to get into everything Tolkien, all the Lord of the Rings movies, all the Hobbit movies, Rings of Power coming up. You're going to be, like, tempted to read the books like I am personally with, like, Game of Thrones and the Magicians and stuff like that. It's not something that you can really do on the surface level. You have to dive deep.
Yeah.
So I probably will one day, but I can't foresee it happening super soon, unless Rings of Power really strikes a chord with me, which it could. I'm not dismissing it. There's a really good chance that will happen. Once John and I get around to watching Rings of Power, it'll just bam connect with me immediately and make me want to check out all the content. So, not dismissing it, but not into it yet.
Ron Butter, I feel like you recommended Disco Elysium to me a few Q&As back. I'm sorry to take us off track. I just noticed a comment in the chat. And I did add it to my Steam wish list. I really don't even game much in general these days anymore. Like, if I've got free time, I'm like reading my massive library of PDFs. So I don't know. If I ever get in like a gaming mood, which could last a few months, maybe then I'd check out Disco Elysium. But it is on my wish list. I want you to know I did listen to you the first time you told me about that game. But yes, Ashton, next question from Super Blue.
How do you feel about the results for NXT Worlds Collide and the end of NXT UK?
Again, not to be succinct, but I don't give a shit. In fact, if anything, and this might make me an asshole, I'm happy NXT UK is like dead. After speaking out, I just feel like WWE did the prudent thing just from a PR standpoint. Who wants still have a wrestling scene when like so many predators came from like the UK wrestling scene, you know? And like obviously the UK deserves wrestling. Every place deserves wrestling if they want it. But you know, thinking as a company, God, so many of the people we were building that program around got outed and talked about. To me, honestly, NXT UK came off like if you continue doing it, you were in the throes of a sunken cost fallacy. To me, so I'm glad that it's over. I think it's better that it's over. And I just, as far as Worlds Collide, you know, I get why some people were upset, like, oh my God, Mandy Rose going over Mako Satomura, but like, it's wrestling, right? It's wrestling. Mako doesn't need to prove herself to anybody. She has a career. She could lose to Mandy Rose 100 times. She's still fucking Mako Satomura. And Tyler Bate, he's still young as shit. And if he can work a stick and cut a promo and just continue to be good at what he does, he'll land on his feet and fucking he'll be okay. Fuck Jordan Devlin. He shouldn't even be employed. But yeah, don't really give a shit about NXT UK. Don't really give a shit about NXT at this point right now. Don't really give a shit about WWE for the most part right now. So yeah, anything they do, none of my business. Do you have anything you want to add?
Bro, I'm actually glad that you said fuck Jordan Devlin because you talked about like speaking out and all the shit that came out of that. Jordan Devlin is actively getting pushed right now in NXT.
Oh yeah, I know. And that's why I'm like, I just do not give a fuck, dude. If anything, like that's putting it mildly, because I'm honestly kind of disgusted about some people that are getting like actively platformed on that product.
Exactly how I feel. Like holy shit, I can't believe that they didn't actually learn their lesson at all.
No. Because why would you when the culture en masse still hasn't like changed? Right. You know, like there's no lesson to learn when the culture that you're like enveloped in and that you operate within is still doing the same shit. So like, it's sad, it's pathetic, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So, as far as my answer goes, relatively similar. I think I'm more apathetic than antagonistic towards NXT UK compared to John. But yeah, I've never cared about NXT UK at all, other than just being happy when they released all the dudes that had allegations against them, but then also angry that they didn't release all the dudes that had allegations against them. You just had to keep Devlin around, didn't you? You just fucking had to.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Super Blue's third question. How do you feel about the passing of Queen Elizabeth II?
Oh, I was happy about it, personally. Fuck her, colonizer. And stuff like that. And really, if anything, look, she's just a figurehead and she's just one person and every legacy is complicated and complex. What I'm more angry at, to be quite honest, because she was honored, like, that's the thing too, we also have to really keep perspective. Like, I was totally truthful in my immediate reaction, but I also like to be a bit more grounded. Let's keep perspective. What was she, like 110? Like, I'm not even joking. I feel like she was like, what?
She was 97.
Right? 97. Well, when you reach that point, like, my grandmother's 90. Like, if anybody would just pass away at that point, it's like, yeah, it's sad, quote unquote, especially for the immediate people that actually care about them. But like, it's inevitable, right? Like, anybody that reaches that point, at that point, it really is a gift to me. So 97, like the right, and this is where my real anger is, and this is where everybody's real anger should be. It's with the living, breathing right-wing machine and ideologues and stuff like that that are going after black scholars and stuff like that for speaking not just their truth, but the truth about Queen Elizabeth's legacy and being like, oh, they're wokesters and the left mob. They're trying to ruin the legacy of an amazing queen who brought peace and decolonization. Now, let me tell you something. She didn't end fucking shit as far as colonization. It was the colonized that picked up guns and shot their fucking oppressors that ended colonization. Don't get it fucking twisted. And so I'm more angry at the present, like the whitewashing of her history by the rightist ideologues that like want to have this ahistorical narrative, how she was a pacifist and a unifier and this great force, this great moral force. She, wasn't shit. So she's just a figurehead. As an individual, she's this figurehead, isolated. It's just one thing. People die. It's whatever. But what they're doing with her life, particularly, again, the rightist, it becomes like an ideological terrain. And that's where my ire is, because once again, they want this whitewashed, again, ahistorical narrative where power is amazing, where the colonized powers are also simultaneously the great moral forces. Everybody else should just be thankful that they were quote unquote liberated or saved or whatever the fuck. And anybody, God forbid, that tries to speak to the contrary, that actually has the authority to do so, that has put in the time and the effort to go through the scholarship, vet their sources, get educated, not just using any soapbox that's provided to them, to say, no, actually, she was horrible for these African nations. Colonization had devastating economic and sociological effects. And the only way it ended was through armed uprisings and resistance, because that's usually the fucking case. I've never seen a colonized territory become decolonized through fucking discourse. Liberals, just to let you know there. So yeah, that's really where my ire is. It's less at her because she was going to die eventually. And it's like, whatever. She doesn't have a conscience. She doesn't give a shit about what she's done. It's more what they're doing with her now, because it's almost like it gives her, and what she represents more pointedly, a new vitality. It's reinvigorated, at least for this moment. And it needs to be resisted at every turn. But the problem is the people that resist it, through knowledge, again, through honesty, get denounced and demonized as like, oh, anti-American or anti-this or anti, whatever, and they're bad and this and that. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So that's where my ire is. Do not give a shit about her. Personally, on a visceral level, I'm glad, like that's fucking karma. And you were 97, so there really isn't even any justice in that part. You lived a full fucking life, more than the people you fucking colonized. So, yeah, it is what it is. I just wish we would stop whitewashing fucking history and take a good, honest look at ourselves, but that would upset people in power and the status quo, and you can never have that. So, what about you? You got anything you want to add?
Bro, the thing that pisses me off the most about it was that the fucking shit that's shutting down and, like, closing in mourning of her. I'm like, bruh, like what you said, she was 97 years old. You should have mourned her death years ago while she was still technically alive, because the inevitability arrived, y'all. Come on.
Yeah. That's actually,
This woman lived a long, fulfilling life. There is literally nothing that anyone could have done to make her life better than it was. She got everything she ever fucking wanted. She grew up in a billionaire family. She literally is worshipped by people. And yet, like, oh, she's dead and now we have to be sad about it? Fuck everything about that. And not only fuck everything about being sad about her death, fuck everything about actual useful places that people need shutting down for her. What the fuck is this?
In all my rage, I actually forgot about that part, so I want to thank you so much for bringing that up, because that is so fucked. I am so glad you're bringing that up, because, like, dude, I even saw tweets from people in that area, like in the UK and stuff, like that were like cancer patients, and just were saying like, I can't get the fucking care that I need. I had an appointment that was canceled because of Queen Elizabeth's death. And they were rightfully enraged because, my cancer isn't going to fucking pause because the Queen fucking died. So I'm really glad you brought that up, dude. It's disgusting. Christ.
So, anyway, I guess we can get into our fourth question from Super Blue, right?
Yes.
All right. That question is, let me close out of a page real quick. There we go. Unless Moxley, Claudio, Danielson, or whoever you want is a part of it next year, are you skipping G133?
I think it's too early to tell right now since we just got done G132. Emotionally, I can tell you I would not give a shit if we skipped it right now. But by the time of the G1 next year, Ash could come to me or I could come to him or somebody could come to our Discord and be like, guys, Claudio and Danielson are in it. And then we'd be like, fuck. And maybe Ishii would still be in it.
Well, no, that's what
Maybe
he's
he
saying,
wouldn't.
though. He's saying unless Moxley, Claudio, Danielson, or whoever you want is a part of it next year, would you be skipping the G1?
Again, I will say, as the most honest answer I can give in this moment, I would want to, personally.
Yeah.
I can't speak for Ash, and I'm willing to think I can speak for you after what you said about New Japan today.
No, yeah, what I'm thinking is, if there's nothing truly special about the lineup for the G133, I am 100% wanting to skip it.
Yeah, I am too, because like that saves a big chunk of our summer, people.
Like if it's just another G1 using exclusively New Japan contracted talent, and it's just the usual, you know, Naito, Tanahashi, Okada, Jay White, Shingo, Goto, Ishii, Taichi, like the fucking usual suspects. Even if you get like Cobb and Okan and fucking New Japan strong guys in there, no, I'm not down for that at this point. I'm fucking over it.
Yeah, I'm over it too. And even if they'd get some AEW guys, they better be like AEW guys that we like. Because, like, you know, that's another thing,
like,
too.
If they go out there and they're just like, oh, yeah, we're going to get Wardlow, MJF, and fucking Ethan Page. No, I'm not down for that either.
No. So, there is a good chance, Super Blue, that as it stands right now, we will be skipping G1 next year. But, again, it's way too early to tell because we just got done 32, and a lot can happen in a year.
Yep.
So, we will check in closer to that time. Ashton and I talk about it all the time. You guys know for G1 31. The day of, Ashton just messages me like 10 minutes before showtime. He's like, man, I really don't want to do this. And I'm like, man, me either. And then we ended up making the video saying we're not going to do it. So even when it is G1 time, you know, it could be down to the wire. We just decide like, well, you know. So, I don't know, Super Blue. You'll know when everybody else does. And when we do.
Yeah,
so, you know,
much.
we'll all know at the same time.
Yeah, we're not going to be like holding it in our back pocket like, oh, John, I think we should skip G1 this year. But don't tell anyone. Shh.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. As soon as we decide officially to skip it, we'll let everyone know.
Exactly.
And if no announcement that we're skipping it comes, and you see, you know, the July preview, the July schedule when that drops, and it has G1 preview and predictions on there with a few dates, then you'll know.
Exactly.
So, all right. Our fifth and final question from Super Blue: why the fuck would Bobby Fish leave AEW thinking he could? Wait, what? Okay, I'm confused. Why the fuck would Bobby Fish leave AEW thinking he could rejoin WWE alone as a top singles guy? First of all, Super Blue, I feel like this is why you need to stop making these questions that are trying to predict the future, because obviously that didn't happen. Bobby Fish went to Impact.
Yes.
Second of all,
I don't think the plan ever was for him to be a top singles guy. He wanted O'Reilly and Cole to go with him. So he wanted to reform Undisputed Era. I don't think Bobby Fish, to be fair to him, in this way at least, I don't think he ever had delusions of being a top singles guy. I think he wanted to get UE back together.
oh boy.
That was my understanding. I'm not trying to make.
He ended up in Impact regardless. So like,
yeah.
Does that nullify the question basically?
I feel like it does. So yeah, Super Blue. That just ooh. All right, we can move on to our next set of questions, I guess.
Hashtag aged like milk. Next question is from Sean. Sean wants to know if we would call CM Punk's AEW run successful.
No, I wouldn't. And I only say that because I don't necessarily. I am a believer, especially in things like this, that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Like, nobody's going to give a shit that he's a two-time AEW world champion. Nobody. I think you'll still have people that really enjoyed the feud he did with MJF, and I do think that was like some of the best work he did as far as like, you know, the segments and stuff like that. I enjoyed it. But here's the thing. In the grand scheme of things, all of that pales in comparison to how he may have potentially ended his run with that company, just pretty much calling out the company structure publicly at a fucking press conference that they were running. So, no, I don't think it was successful because he did some good things, but when you overshadow it by being a massive fucking douche, putting the whole welfare of the company at risk because you want to get something off your chest, no, for me personally, maybe it's me being petty. I don't think you can call it successful by those lights. So I'm more curious what Ash has to say, though, because I always appreciate his thought process like this.
I think it depends on how you define success. I mean, if you want to just talk about like financial Success, I would say yeah, because he was kind of objectively their biggest draw for a while as far as like money and ticket sales and merch moving and stuff like that goes. He basically proved that he could be the guy for AEW, at least he did. But in the more wrestling, like pro wrestling sense, I do think it was a failure because how do we define whether a run is successful or not? Is it just how many achievements a person can get? Or is it more about making the business better on your way out than it was when you came in? Because in my mind, that's what we should judge it by. And I think that that press conference is going to tarnish his entire legacy.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that press conference lost him more fans than anything that he has ever done has ever gained him fans.
Yes.
So I would say, was his AEW run successful? Financially, yes. In every other aspect, I would say that it was failed by that press conference, because that press conference basically tarnished his legacy, it tarnished his title win, and it forced him to end up vacating the title then because of the suspension or potential even, buying out his contract and firing him in a way. And it prevented him from being able to really put anyone over on his way out. So, like, in any way other than financial, I would call his run a massive failure.
Yeah, I by that logic, I 100% co-sign. I think you're absolutely right.
All right,
so,
next set of questions are from Javaris.
Cool.
First question, if he isn't fired, do you think Tony Khan would side with CM Punk on the whole debacle after All Out?
I only think he would, just following off the heels of Ashton's great answer to the last question, because Punk has been a proven draw.
Yep.
And I think Khan is like, I need as many of those as I can right now. Yep. And I think he'd side with Punk purely on that basis.
I fully agree with you. We don't even need to discuss this further. This is just 100% same.
Yeah.
Second question from Javaris. Do you think Punk should be fired after what happened with All Out?
Personally, maybe I'm a bad businessman. I would. I don't think you go and you torpedo the fucking company that way without a strong response. Because here's the thing. Even if I give a severe suspension and I still bring him back, that's at the very least a lukewarm cosign to what you said. You pretty much spit in the face of my company, and I'm still allowing you to come in, cash checks, be featured, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So just out of principle, I would say yeah, because I think it's a really bad look when it's like, especially, and here's the thing too, guys, I hate to be that guy, because I feel like I'm in kind of a weird mood. I hope I'm not like off base with any of my answers today, but if I'm being honest, like you look at the culture today and how people rake others over hot fucking coals. Can you imagine Tony Khan if he would side with Punk? Like, oh, Tony Cook, and like, so like that shit would never stop. That, like, people would have a fucking field day with that shit. And Tony, I only say that because Tony Khan very clearly is plugged into social media. Because with the whole Swole situation where he felt so compelled to open his fucking mouth, like, it would break him, dude. So I'm also being grounded in the sense that I understand Tony Khan psychologically as an owner. Let me tell you something, if you're going to bring Punk back, you know what the next best thing is? Delete your fucking social media, bro, and stop engaging with fucking fans. Because do not give them that. You will not survive it. You're too petty and you're too thin-skinned because you feel like you're untouchable because you're a billionaire, but you're not. At least not in that way. So yeah, if you're going to do it, if you're going to bite that bullet, your social media better go with it, because in this climate, you will be fucking roasted alive. So I personally would, but thinking about Tony Khan, I don't think he will. I do think he'll stand by CM Punk, and more pointedly, he'll stand by the money that CM Punk makes, and he'll try and justify it for the rest of his fucking life. You have anything you want to add?
I think it might even have reached a point now that buying out his contract is the smartest business decision that Tony could make.
Yeah.
Because how many reports have we gotten since those suspensions were handed out after All Out that locker room morale is at an all-time high in AEW?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been hearing.
Can you imagine the fucking downturn that locker room morale would take if Tony kept CM Punk around and continued to push him as a main event talent. Just kept him as a presence in the locker room in general, really.
Yeah, dude. Oh, that's rough.
I legitimately feel like the correct quote-unquote business decision, and what I think many people would agree would be a big dick move for Tony to do, buy out CM Punk and rehire Colt Cabana.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
Because Colt Cabana is a guy that everyone in the locker room fucking loves. He's beloved backstage, and that's one of the main reasons that this whole conflict stems, I think, from the conflict between Punk and Cabana.
Yes.
So if Tony goes out of his way to actively pick the side of Colt Cabana in that conflict, I think it would win over the locker room in a major way.
Yes. Yes,
I think it would
absolutely.
make a lot of people happy. I think it would make a lot of people enthusiastic to come to work again if they aren't already. And, like, I don't know. It just seems like, because, like, not only was CM Punk's whole press conference really just kind of outing him as a shitty person in general, but, like, the whole idea that he makes fun of Colt Cabana for sharing a bank account with his mom is like, oh, so you have toxic masculinity still too, huh? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's really bad. So yeah, I think that the not only the optimal business decision, but also, like I said, the biggest dick move, and by I don't mean like big like asshole, like you're a dickhead, but like big dick energy type of move, is to let Punk go and hire Colt Cabana back.
I 100% agree with you, actually. Yeah.
Because like, realistically, yes, Punk is a big draw, but they've been hitting over 1 million viewers every week for like a month now, pretty much since All Out, despite the fact that everyone knows Punk's suspended and has been stripped and already replaced as the AEW World Champion. Like, he's not around. He doesn't have the title. Everyone knows that he's not around and that he doesn't have the title and that he's probably not coming back anytime soon. And yet we still keep popping these millions. Every week we hit over 1 million viewers.
Yeah.
And, like, that was the big thing that Punk was bringing to the table. Was before Punk, they really struggled to reach 1 million viewers. With Punk, they reached 1 million viewers almost every time he was on TV. But now we're living in a post-Punk world, and we're still hitting over 1 million viewers almost every time, almost every week, pretty much. I haven't seen this week's numbers, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was like 1.35 million or 1.1 million or something like that.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think you got to trust in the talent you have, because especially if morale is higher, they're going to go out and they're going to make the best product possible to keep the locker room that way.
And that's the thing, too, is like now we've got other guys that either are proven draws or might be able to be proven draws, putting the load on their shoulders. And I even want to give props to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho has been fucking killing it since All Out. Chris Jericho looks like a consummate pro post All Out. Moxley, too.
Yeah, definitely.
Jericho and Moxley are like the fucking dudes right now. They are like carrying the product on their backs right now. It is wild.
It is, man. Abso-fucking-lutely.
And like fucking MJF, I can't stand MJF further than he's a heel character. I don't like him as a person. But I do think that we've reached a point that he might be a fucking ratings draw too.
Apparently, I think it's been that way for a little bit at least, you know, and I'll definitely give him his credit for that, absolutely.
Yeah. So like, AEW is slowly but surely creating their own stars. And they have established stars still, who were established before coming to AEW, that are putting the work in and busting their asses to make this product a success. So in my mind, you went from, well, maybe Punk is irreplaceable, to Punk, you can leave and we'll be just fine.
Yeah, bro, like, and I just gotta say one more thing on this whole thing. CM Punk, how could you fumble the ball that fucking hard? Because all this dude has wanted, right, is to be seen as a top guy, as an ace, if you will, anywhere. Because he always believed he was that fucking good. you're this close, if not already like in that spot.
Nope.
You're the world champion. You're getting good pops. You're genuinely a draw. We can't take that away from Punk. So like, this should have been your vindication where you do victory laps, and you're going to be brought down because of a fucking question at a media scrum that you could have just with a wave of the hand just said, I don't want to discuss that. I just got out of a war with John Moxley, and now I got to worry about MJF, and kept it on the program. But you go into business for yourself when you have it all. How do you fumble the bag that fucking hard,
I don't think there even was a question. I think he brought that shit up of his own volition.
See, I thought it all started because some journalist got smart and, like, asked him some shit.
No.
But, like, even so, like, yeah. No, he just ranted then. Because my understanding was he got prompted.
No, from what I understand, dude, you got to remember, there were reports that he has had that rant planned for over a month by the time that press conference happened. He knew he was going to go into that press conference and talk about all that shit and address all of it before anything happened. And nobody asked him a question about Scott Colton, which was the first big thing that he brought up. Nobody brought any of that shit up. He just went up there. He looked at one dude who maybe at some point reported something that maybe CM Punk disagreed with or something. And he was like, are you friends with Scott Colton? And then he went into the whole fucking thing. It was entirely on him.
Which, I guess, just to continue my statement then in light of that information, that's even worse, obviously, because imagine deliberating.
Yeah.
Because this is what we always say about, like, whether it's something as horrendous as a mass shooting or whatever. It always takes thought. Anytime you're going to sabotage something, do harm to somebody, like, to this level, always takes thought, always takes planning, always takes this, which also means then that you're expending energy and time into that thought, into that planning, and it never occurs to you, hey, should I do this? Hey, who could I hurt that I don't want to hurt? Is there any healthier way to deal with my anger or just how mixed up I feel in my own life right now or anything? And when you go ahead and you pull the trigger metaphorically, literally, you know, any case when you do something horrendous that hurts a lot of people in whatever context, you're a fucking asshole and a piece of shit. And in the case of pro wrestling, in the case of CM Punk, to bring us back down to earth, again, I say, all this dude ever fucking wanted was to puff his chest out and be like, see, I told you I could be the fucking man. I told you I could carry a company. I told you I could be that guy. But you couldn't. You just showed all of us that you couldn't, because say what you will about John Cena. I've had criticism of Cena during his run. Dude, I recently learned that he has officially broken the Guinness Book of World Records for Make-A-Wishes.
Oh, dude,
and
he's
like,
done more than like twice as many as the second highest. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Like, and here is a guy that the only thing, the only bad backstage story, which never got a lot of traction that I've heard about Cena personally, like I've heard maybe a few more besides this, but the one that sticks out was Michael Tarver being like, oh, John Cena, you know, he fucked me up with a chair shot one time and this and that.
Oh, there's more
and I'm not saying that's not bad. But, beg pardon?
There's more than that for sure. I remember it was, I think, I want to say Tyler Rex at the time.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
TKO
yeah, okay,
finish,
yeah.
and Cena made him not do it anymore because it looked too much like an AA.
And you know what? Yeah, asshole stuff by Cena for sure. But honestly, given his status, it's kind of unsurprising given wrestling culture. Doesn't make it right, but it's unsurprising.
I mean, we literally have Jericho in AEW like, oh, you know, he's doing the Judas effect, so when Andrade comes in, he can't do his kick feint into the back elbow anymore because it looks too much better than the fucking Judas effect.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. Neither of those guys, and I really don't care for Chris Jericho, but I'll give him this credit too. I have never, in a professional capacity, we're putting the human aside for 2 seconds, never would they do a press conference and torpedo the company that signs their fucking
Well, no,
checks.
dude, that's the thing, right? Because, like, there was this whole thing, and I think it was Triple H that said that the reason that CM Punk hated John Cena so much is because he knew that if he was in the position John Cena was in WWE, he would act the exact same way and do the exact same backstage politicking. Turns out, Punk would do it worse because he wouldn't keep it to backstage. He would do all the politicking in front of everyone and bury the fucking company and the fucking champion, the former champion at least, in Hangman. Like, yeah, no, Punk was way worse as a top guy than Cena was.
Like, you can be a top guy at the ticket gate, you can be a top guy, like, in the ring, but you just proved that you lack the most important part of being a top guy, and that's handling your fucking business and not getting it mixed with company business.
It's being a professional.
And it's being a professional. And I gotta, you know, one more thing on top of the one more thing. I never really like to go hard at, like, other people, because I get that I'm not perfect and I've said like ridiculous shit. I've rightfully been called out. I could not stand the fans. I only had like one or two of them that came in my replies when I tweeted about it. And they're like, oh, what? So Punk didn't have a right to defend himself? Literally nobody said that. Nobody said that.
Defend himself from what?
From, I guess, Hangman talking shit and all these other people apparently talking shit about Punk, which is why he felt the need to go on this fucking rant, apparently.
Hangman said something that everybody thought was kayfabe. And CM Punk came out and was like, no. He meant that as a shoot and fuck him for it.
Yeah.
Everyone thought that it was kayfabe because Hangman was like, oh, you talk about workers' rights and you've been all about the exact opposite ever since you've gotten here. It's fucking kayfabe as far as anyone's concerned. Nobody is sitting there thinking like, oh my God, Hangman just took a direct shot at Phil Brooks the person.
So not only was Punk unprofessional, has it all come full circle on TWitWoW? Was Punk
he got worked into
mark?
The shoot? Yes!
Holy fucking shit, people. It's TWitWoW's everything bagel. God damn. Oh. Shame on you, CM Punk.
How fucking hypocritical, too, of CM Punk to be like, oh, I can't believe Hangman would say that to me. As if CM Punk wouldn't have done the exact same fucking thing if a 15-year older veteran of the business had said those things online and didn't represent them in reality.
Yeah.
Like, there's 100% chance that if Punk was in Hangman's position, he would have done the exact same thing. And he probably would have lingered on it for even longer. Hangman dropped it as a one throwaway line. Punk would have lingered on it. He would have cut a whole promo about it.
Bro, and that's what I wish Punk would have understood for his own good. I'm not saying every fan is like us, but dude, I didn't even, when everybody was like, oh, it's because of what Hangman said, I can't
didn't even know what he was
talking
talking about. Yeah, no, they
exactly.
were like literally, it required people online being like, oh, this is what CM Punk was angry about. For me to be like, wow, okay, that's really telling about you, CM Punk.
Yeah. So... Yeah,
dude, in related news, though, and this, I shouldn't say news, because this is not new at all. This is stuff that I saw, like, earlier this week. Apparently, AEW at, like, house shows, basically, is still selling CM Punk merch. But do you know whose merch they're not selling anymore?
Young Bucks and Omega?
Yup.
Holy fuck it. And I will say this, I don't care for the Young Bucks, and I'm actually kind of over Kenny Omega as well. But between those two entities, like BTE and CM Punk, you go with being the elite to me. Like, I'm sorry. If you have to choose.
It's just the elite, bro.
Well, and if it's just the elite, like, again, personally, I wouldn't deal with any of them because I actually like what the company's doing right now and they're still cracking over $1 million without any of them. Yeah. But if you have to choose, you go with the elite. I'm sorry. Like, wow. That's concerning because that tells me they really might bring Punk back, and not a good look, Tony. Not a good look.
Nope.
All right. I think we really went in on that question. So next question.
Yeah, I'll say we did. Next question is from. Oh yeah, that's right. We're only up to our third question from Javaris. Oh my God, he's still on about this. On the off chance that Tony does side with Punk, do you think Kenny and the Bucks should leave AEW? And if they do, where do you think they'd go? I'm just going to go right straight ahead, nip this in the bud. If this does happen, and it seems very likely that it will now, I think Kenny and the Bucks are just going to go straight to WWE, where Cody already is, and has probably already laid the groundwork for them to come.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I am a believer to a point in the phrase never say never in pro wrestling. Because these guys that always say in interviews, oh, we'd never go to WWE or whatever. Yeah, you will. If the money's right, you fucking will. And as you should. As you should. Because it is a business and we live in a capitalist shitscape. So if you've got yourself or people that you care about or whatever, you gotta fucking get yours. I'm not going to fault them for that. I'm not going to be the holier than thou. Oh, they said they never go or whatever. Now, it'd be different if you'd be like, say, Alberto Del Bitchbag, when he was like, oh, I'll never go back there. They were racist and whatever. Because then it gets into a deeper thing, right? But if you're just doing the kayfabe macho shit where it's like, oh, we've got the best roster here, and I would never go there. I wouldn't know how to. And then you do, it's like, no, I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Kind of like
And yeah,
kind of like CM Punk in his first promo being like, "We have got a locker room full of young talent that I cannot wait to work with," and then at the press conference being like, "I'm so tired of working with children."
you fucking old ass. Shut the fuck up.
Fucking A, man. Fucking A.
Next question from Javaris.
Do you think he realizes how like tone deaf he came off there?
No, not at all.
No, probably not.
Like this, honestly, dude. This like on some real shit. This whole press conference convinced me that CM Punk, I won't say has full blown narcissist disorder, but he has narcissistic tendencies, like by far. And I feel like part of those tendencies is lacking self awareness.
Yeah. Fourth question from Javaris: what has been your favorite match of the 5-star so far?
Oh, dude, it's been such a great fucking tournament. Honestly, just going by recency bias, I mean, Hazuki Julia, just because it was the perfect tone setter for the 5-star. But recency bias, Mina Kamitani. I was so happy that Mina got that huge fucking win over Kamitani and the emotion, and I think it told an amazing story. But, bro, the 5-star is going to have to fully conclude, and then I'm going to need a month on top of that, I think, just to really settle on what my favorite match was. But yeah, Hazuki, Julia, all of Suzu's matches recently, particularly her one with Kamitani that I only saw the second
That's
half
my
of.
answer, dude. That's my answer. Kamitani Suzuki is my answer for sure.
Fucking Kid had great fucking matches with Julia, Kamitani. Hell, even her Ida match. You said that was your favorite Ida match ever today. This tournament's fucking slapped, bro. It's been so fucking good.
I really, like, of all the things you expect to get out of a 5-star Grand Prix, I never expected for my favorite Saya Ida match ever to come out of the 5-star. That's like, holy shit, okay. This really is a miracle tournament.
Honestly, Javaris, from an emotional standpoint, I'd say another 5-star match that was dear to me was Utami Shuri, because Utami finally beat Shuri, and her post-match promo got me up in my feels. Yeah. I'm like, yes, the resurrection of Utami Hayashishita! So yeah, and hell, even people like Ami Sourei have been fucking flexing and showing out. Mirai Mayu was so good too. I remember being shocked that Mirai fucking won that match. Yeah, man, this has been a tournament for the ages, so I can't wait to see the finals live tomorrow night. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be Kino. I'm ready when you are for our next question.
Let's do it.
Fifth and final question from Javaris. Which block has the better ramifications of going to the finals of the 5-star?
So I guess he just means, like, which block overall has had the better stories for, like, a finalist? I'm still trying to understand this question fully.
Yeah, he did say that he would elaborate further.
So, yeah, George, you're actively in the chat. If you could elaborate and kind of give some clarity here, I'd appreciate it. Man, this tournament's been so fucking good.
Yeah.
And honestly, of such quality that if Julia does win it, she's got to be fucking shitty.
Well, that's what I think he means, right? Is like, you know, we've got Julia versus Suzu, we've got Hazuki Momo, we've got Mayu's Kid, we've got Himeka Maika. Basically, out of all the matches on the final day, which sort of combination of someone beating someone else so that that person can get into the finals and prevent the other person from getting into the finals is the most compelling to you? I basically interpret. I was just going to say, I basically interpreted this as Javaris wants us to shine light on how great Suzu versus Julia is going to be and how great the story to it is, because that's like, it feels like he's basing this question on that match.
Yeah, and I mean, I got to give Stardom credit because I was already invested in the match just based on their personal history, but the idea that Stardom's like, oh no, because not only is there personal animosity here now, a fucking block is in for this now of the biggest tournament we do all year for a shot at the world fucking champion. So they loaded the sundae with hot chocolate sauce and the fucking cherries and everything else. Yeah. And I'm ready to dig the fuck in. That's going to be great. I've loved the Red Stars block this year. I love how competitive people like Azumi have been in that block this year. Which, like, what is the biggest match in the Red Stars block, do you think? Because we already know Julia Suzu for Blue Stars. What's the biggest match in the Red Stars block, do you think, it's going to determine the finals for that?
Let's see. Well, I think Maika Himeka is a big one for sure. That's huge.
Yeah.
Azumi's only facing Kashima is the thing.
Yeah.
Shooty versus Risa Sarah is happening. That's about it, though. Big. Yeah, that's about it. Like, those are really the only two. Micah Himeka and Shooty Risa Sarah are really the only two matches with both people being contenders, because Azumi's a big contender, but she's just facing Kashima. And then Tam is a big contender, but she's just facing all caps Saki. Like, that's not too big of a deal either. And that's really the extent of the red block. That's really it.
Yeah. So Utami can't win the red block either then. Was she, like, eliminated today? Because I know Kid has been eliminated.
Who does Utami face? Well, no, because Utami just faces Koguma. I just forgot to mention that.
Yeah, okay.
She's very much in it, too. Literally, let's see. Tam, Shuri, Utami, Micah, Himeka. Did Risa Sarah beat both Micah and Himeka? She beat Micah for sure. She lost to Himeka. That's interesting. Okay. So, I think Risa might be eliminated, actually, because if she were to win, she'd have 15 points. So, if Micah wins, then she's at 16, so she just beats Risa by a point. If Micah and Himeka go to a draw, they both have 15 points, but Himeka's already beaten Risa. So, I don't really know how that's going to get handled. I think Risa is going to win, but I don't think it's going to matter, because I think that someone's going to just have 16 points by the end of all this. And probably, realistically, multiple women in that block are going to have 16 points, because, like I said, Tam is facing fucking Saki, all caps Saki. Azumi is facing Kashima, and Utami is facing Koguma. That feels like all three of them are probably going to win, right?
You would think, yeah.
I mean, they could just all lose. That's possible, but then it comes down to Micah Himeka, because then the winner of that match would advance to the finals.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just can't wait for the finals to get here. And again, tomorrow night, fucking after Rampage, we got 3 hours, and 2 a.m. we go live with it. I can't wait to see who's going to win this fucking thing. Even though I'm still convinced it's Julia, what a fucking exhilarating ride it's been. I've loved this tournament.
Yeah, I think that the most compelling matches on either side are Himeka Micah on Red Stars, and then, Julia Suzu on the Blue Stars.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right, let's get into our next set of questions, which are Rotten Butters questions. And his first question is his usual first question, but I wanted to read it out loud because it's a cute little thing here. He said, "Time will tell. Now tell about time. This past month specifically."
Aw, that's adorable. Yeah. I just kind of working all over the place here. I'll start with music because I've heard some music from Lil TJ, and I think Polo G did some new stuff. I don't know if that was within the kind of period here. I know recently I found a kind of an alt rock group, In Our Wake. Listen to all their stuff that they currently have up. I know Mosaic's going to be coming out with new music soon. I can't
Nice.
wait. Yeah, I every time they post it on their Facebook page, I get so hyped that they're coming out with new music. We watched the Last of Us trailer. Oh my god, y'all, that looks so fucking good. I think they're going to hit it out of the fucking park. I watched the trailer, and I know I shared it with Ashton, but I know Ashton didn't have any interest. I'm hoping to rope my family into it because they seemed enthusiastically into it. Cyberpunk Edge Runners, that anime on Netflix, that trailer looked fucking awesome.
What was the first trailer that you talked about?
The Last of Us trailer.
Oh,
that, you told me about. That dude, that looks fucking astounding. I don't need to tell you because you were hyped like I was.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was that. My family has been watching Mike Judge's Beavis and Butthead, which is what they call the Paramount, variation of it, which has been really good. I've enjoyed that more than the MTV revival that they got like a decade ago. I think it's been fantastic.
Nice.
We've also been watching The Challenge US. We've been watching the latest season of Evil, which, guys, let me tell you, if you are looking for a weird, at times creepy, but also like has like a weird sense of humor, like not necessarily black comedy, but like a bit absurd, like a bit out there, Evil's the fucking show for you. And especially if you're a fan of the actor, I think Mike Coulter, the guy that was Luke Cage in the Netflix
yeah, that
MCU.
is Mike Coulter. Good call.
Yeah. He's in it. He's fucking great. I love the leads on the show. We're in the 3rd season, has been confirmed for a 4th, which makes me so happy because I hate getting emotionally attached to shows, only for them to rip my fucking heart out. Not that that hasn't happened to me or any of us multiple fucking times. But yeah, Evil's fucking great. Train to Busan. I was talking to Ashton about this, and he said he's heard about it, so forgive me, Ashton, because I know you've already heard this, but since our audience is kind of new, I'm just going to gush about this again real quick. The best zombie movie, I think, and really zombie anything, I think I've seen in a long time, since like the first 2 seasons of Walking Dead. And even then, I would put that movie up against those from what I remember. Because that movie, man, if you haven't seen Train to Busan and you're a horror fan with October coming up, put that on your fucking list, y'all. It is so good. So good. Oh my God. Love that so much. Obviously, in terms of reading, I've actually been doing a bit more reading this month, and it's made me feel so happy, and it's my happy place, and I definitely, don't feel like I'm going to snap in two. So that's great. Hooray for mental health. But it's always my nerd shit, as you guys know. Obviously, big games Ash and I are always playing are, Rocket League and Brawlhalla. Did a lot of that. Crossed over to 1,600 at one point on Brawlhalla as a team. Now we're in, like, mid-1500s. Some teams are just, they're on crack, and drugs are bad, kids. Yeah, they just whoop our ass. What else have we been watching and doing? I'm just thinking of both you and I, and mainly my family, because I know you, anytime I have gaps about what we've been watching, you always pick it up. We're obviously continuing She-Hulk. That's a thing. Been doing Rick and Morty Season 6. That's also been fantastic. The Night Family episode, terrific. I think it's going to be an all-time series fave for me. Really loved it. Thought it was very creative. Yeah, Rotten Butter, you do have a fair point there. And, oh, God, I just got an ad. Oh, my God, and it's a train ad. I was just talking about Train to Busan. What the fuck is this? What the fuck?
What ad?
Oh, wow, okay.
On what?
On my computer, an ad just showed up. I think it was, like, from Epic Games or something. It was advertising me, like, this rail game or something.
Awkward.
That wasn't what I was saying, Cortana. I was talking about a movie.
You use Cortana?
I have her turned off. At least I think I do.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. But yeah, let me think about what else. So yeah, again, we're doing She-Hulk. We did a lot of rewatches for that. We did do Thor: Love and Thunder, which honestly, now that we completed our Thor pile, like a lot of people were critical of that movie. I had fun with it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's maybe the thing, right? It is a fun movie. It's a fucking comedy. It's an action comedy.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't have my head so far up my head. Like, I'm just able to enjoy things. I don't know. I thought it was a good time. I watched the Halloween Ends trailer. The trilogy's been hit or miss. Love the first installment in the trilogy. Didn't care so much for the second. Maybe I will more on the rewatch, and kind of prepping for it. I don't know. But the third movie looks fucking hype. That trailer looks awesome. Fucking love, Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode. Definite, excellent final girl energy. And yeah, her and Michael finally ending things. It's going to give childhood me a lot of peace, a lot of anxiety going out the door. Not really a content thing or whatever, but as far as big things this month, I'm getting fiber internet, y'all. I'm so fucking happy. I haven't shut the fuck up about it. Mainly because we've waited years for this. I got to tell you guys, I had a conversation with my sister last night. She gassed me the fuck up. She's like, your letter is the first thing in 10 years that got them to pay attention to us about fiber. So I'm going to be getting my internet upgraded hopefully by mid-November, which would hopefully mean better TWitWoW quality for you guys, because it would mean like a lower frequency of having to adjust and, I've got a buffer, this and that. I would just like smoother sailing podcasts. That would make me very happy. So that was the biggest development this month, Rotten Butter, is finally going to be truly backwoods to the future, as I affectionately call this place, because we'll be getting better internet. And Javaris already promised me that we can use the super yacht to celebrate, so I'm going to know what it feels like to be rich. And, that is, I'm probably forgetting a shit ton of stuff, but that is mainly what's on my mind. Oh, we did watch the first Orphan movie. Gotta be honest, really hated it. I thought it was slow and plotting. I will admit the twist caught me, and they did the twist at the right time, because just before that, there was a really disturbing scene where I thought a child was trying to seduce her father, and it was really fucking weird. And then the twist happened, and I'm like, okay, so you just skirted a boundary, but the idea that you even put it in our minds what was happening is really fucked up. So, yeah, I'd say the last, 20, maybe even 30 minutes were good, but most of the movie is a fucking slog. I would skip it personally. So that was a movie we watched. Trying to think if we watched any other programs, my family and I don't think we have. We watched this Japan show. Now, the whole first part of this sentence is going to be awful. We watched this Japan show called All Old Enough. Now, I'm going to step in here and be like, it's not what you think. It's this really wholesome, like, kind of mini-sode kind of thing where they follow these families and, like, the children in these families get to do their first tasks to show that they're growing up in the world. So, like, one episode we watched was a daughter had to deliver lunch to her father who forgot it when he left for work. And, you know, the camera crew follows the kids and stuff like that, and it's just supposed to be like, oh, look at this, they overcame it. And it's never anything, like, perilous or anything crazy like that. It's just, you know, they just do stuff. And, yeah, so that was really wholesome and endearing. But that's I think the extent of it. Was Day Shift this month, dude?
Yes. Yes, it was.
That was so good. And I know I sent you a fucking trailer, and you sent me a fucking trailer about Enola Holmes too. That was another trailer that I watched. That looked good.
Yep.
And then whatever.
Actually, dude, no, Day Shift was last month, but it was still worth mentioning.
Yeah, Day Shift was fucking amazing too. Y'all watch that if you haven't. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes I forget what's in the scope and what's out of the scope because we do so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, Enola Holmes too. That was another trailer I watched courtesy of Ashton, and then I sent him a trailer that I knew he'd be down for because I think after all this time, I'm really starting to get what's gonna, you know, scratch his fucking itch. And what was it called? They cloned Tyrone.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That movie looks so fucking good.
I sent it to him, and Ashton was immediately on board. To be perfectly honest with you, because I didn't say this to you, Ashton, I was already on board with Jamie Foxx in it. That's how much goodwill he earned with Day Shift.
Nice.
I'm like, oh, well, if he's in it, I'm probably
he was Project Power, too, and that was a solid movie as well.
Yeah. And then
that wasn't as good as Day Shift, but it was still fun.
Yeah. And then when I saw John Boyega was in, I'm like, oh, you know what? This is pretty stacked. Seems like an all-black cast with a really unique story. Like, fuck yeah, I'm here for this. I'm fucking here for this. The only other I've watched a lot of trailers this month apparently because another trailer I watched, A Knock at the Cabin, which is a fucking M. Night Shyamalan movie, but has Batista in it.
Dude, straight up, when I first saw the trailer to that movie, I feel like I had the exact same reaction that countless people have had to seeing trailers for M. Night Shyamalan movies, which is, as the trailer's playing, you're like, whoa, this looks really cool. Oh, okay. Wow, this movie looks good. I might actually have to check it out. And then it says that it's by M. Night Shyamalan. And you're like, oh, fuck, never mind. God damn it.
I gotta tell you a little story about that. When I saw his name attached, just so that I wouldn't have any residual curiosity, do you know the story behind this movie?
No.
Okay, so it's a book adaptation. And so I found the spoiler for the book, and now I guess the question is, will M. Night Shyamalan follow that twist, or will he come up with his own? Because the way the book ends is interesting. I'm not going to say anything just in case there are any M. Night Shyamalan fans, or if anybody knows of this movie and wants to see it, and maybe they didn't know that it came from a book, or maybe they did. Whatever the case, I just want to be respectful. But yeah, that ending, pretty decent. M. Night Shyamalan, though, could look at this and be like, no, we have to do this instead. I will say, though, personally, just keeping it civil, I hope Dave kills it. Because he actually did seem pretty menacing in the fucking trailer. And it seemed like a very different role for him.
Yes.
Especially given that he was just making that Marvel money not too long ago.
Yes.
So, like, kill it, Dave.
Yeah.
Kill it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm ready to yield the floor to you because I'm just going to keep remembering shit. And if I have anything really significant. Oh, and the U Season 4 teaser. Which, Javaris, we've got to talk about.
Wait, there was a U Season 4 teaser?
Yes, and here's the thing. Netflix, because they know so many people want to fucking jump ship because they're tired of Netflix's bullshit, is splitting the season into 2 parts. So first part is February 10th, and then the second part is like
holy shit, February 10th already?
Yeah.
Oh my
god.
And when's the rest of it?
March sometime. March.
Oh, wow, so it's actually just coming soon in general, like overall.
Yes.
They're not spreading it out that much at all. Fuck.
No. Yeah, okay. I think it'll actually be March 10th because both February 10th and March 10th land on Friday. So I think it just, February 10th and March 10th, exactly a month apart.
Damn, okay. I didn't know about that. No one sent me that teaser. What the hell?
I didn't know you were into the show. I didn't know your relationship to the show. If I had known your relationship to the show, I'd be like, oh, Ashley, look at this fucking shit. Because I know me and my family are obsessed with that show. Like, that's probably one reason we will keep
one of the
Netflix.
first things that my mom and I did when we first moved into this new place was watch all of you.
Oh my God, that's dude. You don't know the memories you just unlocked for me. It's like when Light regains the Death Note, and like all your comments about Joe just came flooding back to me. Holy fuck, that's right. You guys, dude, I legitimately, I will apologize to you on air right now, because if I had remembered, I would have absolutely hooked you up. I thought you didn't give a shit, dude. That's why I didn't bother you with it. I forgot that you went on that whole journey. No, dude, let me tell you, it is crazy, because now, dude, I love that you was self-aware enough to know how fucking absurd it is, and it just doesn't give a shit. Like, genuinely. Because now, he's apparently a college professor in England. Like, so he's got this whole new identity. Yeah, I know, dude. And they're going through the cast, and like, it seems very clearly to tease that he's gonna have multiple love interests.
Oh boy.
And like,
oh boy.
Oh God, who's gonna die? And it's just, it's everything. I love, and this is me being totally sincere, people, because you guys know I got stuff, and it's never being addressed, and it's okay. I grew up on fucking Lifetime shit. And you started as a Lifetime show. Not a lot of people remember that.
Yeah. Well,
you started.
I don't remember it so much as I read that it was a fact.
Yeah. Yeah, it started as a Lifetime show, then Netflix picked it up. But I love that it didn't lose what would make it so quintessentially fucking perfect for Lifetime. And it's just so good. Look, if people would qualify you as like trash TV of any kind, which I disagree. I think it's a genuinely good show, mainly because, not to use pro wrestling terms, but this is a pro wrestling podcast. Dude, this show works so many fucking people to the point where the guy that I already forget, I'm blanking on his name. I know we've said his actor name before, but the guy that plays Joe is genuinely disturbed because women are like, "Oh, I love him. Oh, I wish a guy would be like that with me." And he's like, "What? What?" Like, he's genuinely scared. He's like, "No." Penn Badgley, who, by the way, I would not mind if he was Reed Richards, because I heard casting rumors, guys, that they were thinking about making him Reed Richards.
Ooh, I don't think it's gonna go that is very interesting.
But like, he is so fucking good. I'd be all for it. I'd embrace it.
He's kind of at the high end of what I would want Marvel to go for as far as a Fantastic Four casting, as far as age goes.
Yeah, because I know you want a young Fantastic Four. You've been very adamant about that. Really, you're just on that youth movement for like superhero casting in general, because we were talking about.
Well, because that's the whole thing, right? Is that you want to get somebody who can play the role for 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like when Robert Downey Jr. got cast to play Iron Man, he was, I think, like 30, or actually, no, he was in his 40s now I think about it. He was like 42 or 43. And like, I think that was but that was like, he already, like, that was him being, like, the character was already at a point in his life that, like, he had his shit together. Whereas in my mind, I feel like the Fantastic Four, like, if we're going to be getting, like, an origin story, like, if we're going to be seeing them go out and they get to deal with the anomaly and then they come back and they have powers and shit, I feel like they should be, like, fresh out of college, man, you know?
That would be interesting, because then, when you've got a young Reed Richards be like, "Guys, I made this ship. Let's go up into space." I don't know, Reed. There's a lot of weird stuff. But guys, we'll be fine. then Ben wakes up and his life is over. Yeah, I can't wait for Fantastic Four. Hopefully they do well. But yeah, just to finish off.
Well, and the thing is too, like, I'm thinking like fresh out of college. If we're talking like master's degrees though, like PhD level shit. So like mid to late 20s, you know? Like I'm not trying to get a bunch of like 22, 23-year-olds. Although you could, and just say, oh, they graduated high school at 15 and it had an accelerated learning course and they graduated with PhDs by the time they were 21. Like, that would make sense considering Reed Richards is supposed to be the smartest man on the fucking planet.
Yeah, bro, honestly, like, I'm not saying this about, like, the whole casting thing. I'm just, in general, like, you even going as far as to provide a rationale when Hollywood for years has stuck 30-year-olds in high school roles and made us believe that they're of age. Like, no, you could definitely reverse that shit.
Yeah.
Just like, you're going to shove this 30-year-old in my face. I'm not going to question if a 23-year-old has got a fucking PhD. Like, it's all...
Yeah.
But Yeah, Penn Badgley's been deeply disturbed by the response to Joe and you by some rabid corners of the fandom.
I think it would also be really interesting, and I apologize for cutting you off, but I'm just trying to keep it part of the Fantastic Four discussion. I think it would be really interesting, too, if Sue Storm, who is older than Johnny, we already know Johnny Storm is her younger brother, right? So I think it would be really interesting if she was also older than Reed.
Yeah.
Because often, I feel like the norm, at least in the U.S., is older men with younger women, especially in, like, Hollywood and stuff like that, right? But, like, what if we flip that on its head and we go with, like, a 27, 28-year-old woman who is very smart? Like, she's literally got a PhD as well, but she's like normal PhD smart. Like, she got her PhD when most people that get PhDs get their PhDs. Whereas Reed Richards is like 22, 23 years old. He's a few years younger than her because he's this fucking super high-level, ridiculous genius who accelerated everything, graduated high school early, got into college, got a PhD in like 6 or 7 years instead of the usual 10 or 12. And, like, that could be an interesting dynamic because now you've got this younger Reed Richards who's hyper-intelligent. Like we said, he's supposed to be the smartest man on the planet. And a little bit older Sue, but then we've also got the dynamic of Reed being the same age as Johnny. I think that could be really interesting, too.
That could be interesting. Yeah, I'd honestly be for that. Yeah, and what's Ron Butter saying here? Well, that's very much true to the comics. It's honestly creepy since he knew her since she was really young. Ooh, I never knew that. That's interesting. But yeah, just with the whole you dynamic, Penn Badgley's been very disturbed because obviously the show satirizes those fucking elements, satirizes romance culture and its more toxic elements and what it enables and apologizes for. So season 4 looks like it's going to be fucking dope. And I'm bracing myself for all the women thirsting for Penn Badgley, who, as an actor, is a very handsome man. Like, I'm comfortable enough to be like, yeah, I see it. But they're not just thirsting for Penn Badgley, which is totally acceptable. They're thirsting for Joe. And, like, no.
Less acceptable, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, like, look at the woman in canon that actually was able to, like, I pay attention, y'all. Just pay attention, y'all. Then anyway, yeah, next, actually, no, not even next round question, because now I want to hand the floor over to you just to fill in any gaps that you have for your month.
Well, so as far as you and I go, you and I have our routine. Like, every night we'll play games, we'll do YouTube content, catch up on that, and then we'll get into whatever special project we've got. And then, if there's like a $250 Disney Plus drop like She-Hulk has been, we'll do that then too. But lately, literally, dude, we've spent this entire month revolving around Thor Love and Thunder. Because we started the month with Infinity War, then Endgame. Then we finally got around to watching Thor Love and Thunder. Then we watched Rick and Morty, then we hit the pile, which we literally just finished last night. We only finished watching Thor Love and Thunder content that had been piling up in between the movie coming out and us seeing it last night.
Yeah.
So that's really all that you and I did, was just a bunch of YouTube content, Thor Love and Thunder content, and gaming, and that's it. And the only games that you and I really play together are, like you said, Rocket League and Brawlhalla. So everything else that I'm going to talk about is going to be exclusively stuff that I did either by myself or with my mom, which isn't really that much. Like, the most exciting thing that we did this month was get Discovery Plus. So now my mom can watch her HGTV shows that she loves so much. She's already watched the first, 5 or 6 episodes of Love It or List It on HGTV on Discovery Plus. She loves that shit, right?
Yeah.
So as far as I go, I've pretty much spent this entire month obsessing over a combination of retro video games, and by retro, I don't mean like NES type shit, although I have paid attention to that, for sure. But I'm more focusing on like Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, N64, GameCube, Wii, Wii U, DS, and 3DS. Basically everything Nintendo that came out in the late 80s to late 2000s, right? So, I guess early 2010s it would be. I think that's when Wii U came out. And that is because I know that I'm not going to get a Switch for a while yet. Like, the Switch is in my rear view, but it's like, you know how the rear view or the side view mirrors say objects are closer than they seem? It's like the opposite of that. Like, the Switch is something that I think about often, despite the fact that I know subconsciously that it's not happening for probably at least another, year and a half at minimum, right? So what I've been doing to satiate that desire to have a Switch is I have been looking through all of these other Nintendo consoles and all the games that have come out for said consoles, and either just watching other people play them or downloading them to play myself because I love emulation, and I have emulators for every Game Boy and N64 and GameCube and Wii and PlayStation all on my computer. And I've got one hell of a library being built up right now too. So as far as games that I've actually played, it's a much smaller list because I've spent so much of the month curating my library that I haven't really gotten around to playing many. I did dip my toe into Epic Mickey, which was really fucking cool. I really enjoyed the little bit of that I played. I played a little bit of... What was the other GameCube? Oh, Super Mario Sunshine is what it was. I played a little bit of Super Mario Sunshine. Earlier on in the month, I did play some Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX for Game Boy Color. I fucking love that game, and I actually do want to get back into that soon. I want to beat that game, because I know I beat that game when I was very young, like maybe 12 years old-ish, or around there, give or take a year or two. But I want to beat it again as an adult, because I really want to like play through all of the iconic Legend of Zelda games that are on like handhelds and stuff. I would like to get around... Basically, the order I want to play them in my mind is I want to do Link's Awakening, I want to finish that. Then I want to get around to Oracle of Seasons and Ages. I don't know what order I want to play those in, but I do know I want to play them both. Then I want to get around... I think the next one in my lineup would be Minish Cap. Then I want to do Twilight Princess. And I'm not exactly sure where I go from there, honestly. So that's a general idea, though, of what I want to do as far as that goes. Oh, I do want to check out Wind Waker too. I don't want to hate on the Wind Waker, but Twilight Princess is a big one that I'm like trying to get to eventually because the graphics look just beautiful. It looks incredible, and obviously my real end game goal there is Breath of the Wild and eventually Tears of the Kingdom, which is the Breath of the Wild sequel that's coming out next year. I think in March or something like that, March or May, one of the M months. Other than that, though, I dabbled a little bit in Clicker Heroes the other day, and that I got bored with that really quickly. There was a mobile game that I've been playing a little bit this month called Cells. It used to be called Cell to Singularity, and it's like, John, like in Clicker Heroes, you have each hero that you buy is progressively both more expensive and gives you more damage per second at the same time.
Yes.
Cells is kind of like that, but rather than buying heroes, you're buying steps in evolution. So, like, the first step was, like, the DNA, and then you get to RNA, and then you get to, single-celled organisms like eukaryotes and prokaryotes and stuff like that, and you work your way up, and eventually, as you keep upgrading and upgrading and upgrading and upgrading and upgrading, you get to the point that you reach... not only where we are now in humanity, but even past that, like an advanced civilization that can colonize Mars and shit like that. It's pretty cool. It's a cool little game. But I've hit a wall on that, so I haven't really been playing it as much lately because it's just stagnant at this point. Other than that, I think that about covers my month. My month has been dedicated much less to watching and much more to playing and curating a library of video games to play. So... hope that you appreciate that answer, Rotten Butter, and I think it's time for us to move on to our second question. How do you feel about that, John?
I feel great. I also watched somebody do a playthrough of Donkey Kong Country for the SNES.
Nice! Wait, SNES? I thought that was N64.
Well, that's Donkey Kong Country 64.
Oh, I see. I gotcha.
Dude, if I had a little bit more tone, I would have sounded like such a snoot. Like, no, that's Donkey Kong 64.
No, but dude, is it just me, or is the SNES fucking beautiful? Like, the graphics?
It is, dude. Oh my god,
it's unbelievable. The SNES was so fucking ahead of its time graphically. It blows my mind.
Absolutely. But yeah, now we can move on there.
Like, straight up, the SNES had better graphics than the GBA. Don't at me.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Arguably, you could even say it had better graphics than the N64, but we won't get into that right now. Second question, though, from Rotten Butter. Is there any property that you were a fan of that got an adaptation that you ended up liking even more than the version of the property that you were already a fan of?
I feel like this would be so much easier if I read a lot more comics. Because, like, apparently, dude, that read the boys' comics love the show so much better than the comics.
Yeah.
But, like, I've never read those, right? So that would feel like kind of a cheat. But you did say, have I ever? So no is a legitimate answer if I would say no. I just really want to think about this for a second. I don't think I have, Rotten Butter. I really don't think I have. I think I've loved Initial Property, and any adaptation was either, like, good, I enjoyed it for what it was, or I didn't like it. I never thought, wow, that was so much better than the source material. So yeah, I guess that's it for me. What about you, man?
I think this is where I have the advantage of being indoctrinated into Harry Potter books from a very young age. Literally, when I was like 8 or 9 years old, I had a teacher who, for our reading class, rather than having everybody read their own book, she brought us all into a little circle, and we were all these little 8, 9-year-old kids. She brought us all into a little circle and read the entire first Harry Potter book to us. So that sparked my interest in the series, and I ended up reading every single Harry Potter book when I was a kid and teen, and I'm just going to say it straight up. The movies are better than the books. So that's my answer.
Well, there you go. All right, next question.
Yeah, that made it easy as hell, you know? Next,
yeah, definitely.
Third and final question from Rotten Butter is, Power Rangers, you cowards, you would sacrifice this whole planet? I'll ask one last time, where are the Rangers? I know what this is referring to, but I haven't gotten to it yet. This is...
And I'm old, so no.
Wait, you mean... Bro, if you were old, you would know what this meant. What?
I mean, I guess just, like, crotchety old where I don't, like, you know, I'm not getting back into my youth in this way. I'm choosing to remain old.
This is about the finale of Power Rangers in Space, and I am watching Power Rangers with my mom, who's sitting right here, so I don't want to spoil what this is a reference to. So, while I am aware of what this is a reference to, and I do appreciate it, Rotten Butter, and I'm sorry that I haven't been able to keep up with watching Power Rangers. My mom and I literally just had a discussion about this, about how we want to get back into watching Power Rangers, and we just haven't yet. So, while I want to, it just hasn't happened this month because there's so much other shit going on. But yes, I am still actively wanting to continue to watch Power Rangers, but I haven't been able to this month. So, maybe we'll be able to get back to this next month. Honestly, Rotten Butter, I feel like this would all be way easier if you just joined the Discord, bruh.
Yeah, we'd love to have you in the Discord, man. It'd be fucking great.
Yeah, man. All right, so now we can get to our final set of questions, which are from Alex Foster. First up, who should join Alpha Academy if they ever do get new students? I have an answer for this that I actually thought about as soon as I read this question, and I want to just say it right now before you go, John, if you're okay with that.
Of course.
I want for Andre Chase to be the next member of the Alpha Academy, and I want him to be a loyal student of Alpha Academy while having his own students at Chase U.
Ah, nice.
I want Chase U to be a subsidiary of Alpha Academy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. I don't know if this was Foster that said this. Somebody said this, but the Damon Camp at Worlds Collide got kicked out of Diamond Mine. Maybe just make him an Alpha Academy member.
That would work for sure, yeah.
Yeah, then just pairing him with his brother immediately. Like, if you wanted to work to them having a tag team stint or whatever, I think it'd be better long term to work up to it so that you still kind of, like, individuate them. And, yeah, like, just do all that. So I'll say Damon Kemp or Alpha Academy. That'll be my answer.
All right, cool. Next up, let's see. If your pets could talk, what celebrity voice would you want them to have?
For Riddick, he is older now.
Sam Elliott.
That'd be cool. But you know what? You gave me that. I want to come up with my own answer. That's a really good answer, though. God, you know, Riddick doesn't like me at all. Like, we kind of just have a very ambivalent relationship with each other. So I'm going to say Clint Eastwood. Just because, you know, it just seems like a kind of voice that when it tells you to fuck off, you listen. Thank you, Foster. My cat would love you because you're cool and beautiful and just amazing. Wookie, because she's fucking precious. I would either want her to have Kyrie's voice. I know you said celebrity. To me, wrestlers are celebrities. They're all on the same continuum.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
That's fair. No one ever
I'll
said that
say
they had to be an A-list celebrity. Sheesh.
exactly. I'll say Kyrie, Emmy Rossum, or Allison Brie in that order.
Allison Brie
So,
is a really good voice actress. I like that answer.
all right. So what about you, bud?
Well, I don't have any pets.
Oh yeah, yeah. You get to skip out on this. Fuck.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Third question from Foster. Why do people think the Bloodline is using Sammy? Maybe they legitimately appreciate him, damn it.
Foster, I will say this right now. I want the story to go where Jay gets excommunicated over Sammy. Like, that would be fucking amazing. What a mind fuck that you're willing to sabotage the like essential concept of the group just because you felt like one guy that made up that concept wasn't pulling his own weight, and so you go with the honorary Oos. I would love it. I think Sammy's been doing stellar work. Roman, like non-kayfabe, has put over Sammy, and he has advocated for him to get more TV time. So I feel like this is 100% Roman's idea, and I feel like he's made Roman genuinely corpse one or two times since doing his work. And like Jay hating it as a character has been so great for him. Like Jay even still in this tag team, and I love the Usos, but I have said publicly, and I will say it again, I miss main event Jay Uso.
Yep.
But I feel like his reaction to Sammy is kind of him reclaiming some of his individuality outside of the Usos tag team, which is so welcome. Like everything about this is so nice, y'all. And like, yeah, Foster, I want to believe that Roman genuinely loves Sammy. Solo definitely does. Solo fucks with Sammy. And if they choose him over Jey Uso, I will laugh, but then I will applaud because everything will be fantastic. And I do, yeah, they do love him, damn it. You say it with your whole chest, Foster. Coming with the right takes up in this bitch. Anything you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Next question.
Fourth question from Alex Foster. Tony Khan has called you into his office. What were you guys doing during the brawl out / gripe bomb / muffin mania? What's your alibi?
Now I'm going to answer this in a unique way because I'm looking at this in the context of when that whole thing happened. And when that whole thing happened, I was still like an Uber mark for MJF. I've cooled off some because of the whole ringside news stuff. And, you know, I want to be consistent in my ethical and political positions. But given that happened before he did the whole tweet, you know, kind of jabbing at ringside news in the worst way, I probably would have been a mark trying to talk to MJF and get his autograph. Either that or talking shit about Tony from a social distance, one or the other. But I'm going to go with the MJF thing. What would you be doing while all this shit was going down?
I think I would have been backstage partying with the AFO and the Lucha Bros.
See, you're cool. I like that.
And that also means that all of us can vouch for each other, so there's all the alibis you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. Fifth and final question, and the final question of the Q&A. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has an archetype of cards called Dino Wrestlers. What wrestlers would you like these cards to be based on? You can even include the type of dino that they would be.
Foster, you always come up with such beautiful questions. You know what, though? Because this has more creativity than I feel like I'm capable of at this very moment, I'm going to defer to Ashton first so that he can at least give one card so that I have kind of like a template to follow. So what about you, bud? You got any ideas?
Oh, boy. Okay. Let's see. I want to start with Roman. He did say what wrestlers would you like these cards to be based on, so I definitely think Roman is like the number one guy because like he's the top dog in the top company in the world, you know?
Yeah.
So it only makes sense that he would have to be on one of them. But what dinosaur does Roman Reigns remind me of? He's not the biggest, so we can't go immediately like straight to T-Rex because he's big, but he's not like Braun Strowman big, you know? Or like Omos big, that kind of thing. So maybe
Yeah.
like I don't know. I mean, he is Samoan. Maybe the whole gimmick of the Samoan dynasty, the bloodline can be that they all have like the Pacific Islander head, but the hard heads like Pachycephalosaurus.
Right, right.
So maybe Roman is like the Pachycephalosaurus, and then like the Usos would be like the Stygimolochs, and then Solo Sikoa would be like the little Draco Rex Hogwartsia
There you go.
looking thing.
Yeah, Foster, I'm going to be honest. I feel like a bit out of my element with this question because I'm not nearly as into dinosaurs or knowledgeable about them as Ashton is. So I feel like I'd give a very like lukewarm answer to this question, and I only want to give you quality. So I feel like I know Ashton, you had to know about a Foster question earlier about like the pet voices. I may just have to know about it this question just because I feel like I really couldn't give anything of quality, and I don't want to like have dead air trying to come up with a good answer. So
Right.
I think, yeah, I think that'll do it. I think that'll do it. Because that was like, yeah, because he always goes last. So that's it. We're done Q&A. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for the questions. We will see you next month, October 27th. So October 27th, get your questions in. I'm going to update the pinned tweet when we go off the air here. And you guys know the drill. 5 Q&A questions for those that are Patreon donors. For additional Q&A questions, it only costs $1 a month. I would just donate the $3 so you get Discord access. Again, Rotten Butter, we would love to have you in our Discord if that ever becomes viable for you at any point. If you don't donate to the Patreon, you only get to ask 3 Q&A questions. So you can still participate, but only 3 questions, not 5. So join us again October 27th for that Q&A. Meanwhile, though, guys, tomorrow, Discord members join us for games from 8 to 10. I think we did decide that we are going to cover Rampage. So that'll be from 10 to 11. Seems like a pretty solid card. Hopefully it's good. But then at 2 a.m., the big thing, Friday into Saturday, it's the fucking 5-star finals. We're going to find out who wins this fucking tournament and who is going to challenge Shudi for the world title. It's going to be a fucking stellar show. Can't wait for it. So join us there for that. And as far as this video goes, you know the drill. Leave a like as you file out. Subscribe. Click the bell icon for notifications so you don't miss any of that TWitWoW goodness. And check out everything we're involved in the description box. Follow us on Twitter and Twitch because we are the best wrestling podcast in all the IWC. And yeah, we will see you tomorrow for Rampage and for you Stardom fans. 5-star finals. It's fucking going down. So we'll see you then. Ashton, you can take us home.
Matt Riddle is a high Ceratops.
There you go.
That's the only other thing that I could think of. So, all right. All right, everyone. We hope you enjoyed. Thanks for your questions. Quick Q&A this time around. Let's maybe get a few more questions for next time around, and we will see you then. But more importantly, we will be seeing you tomorrow night for AEW Rampage, and then later on in the night, Saturday morning, for 5-star finals. Very excited about that. Hope that you are all also excited for it. And we hope to see you there. But, of course, in order for that to happen, you're going to have to remember to stay tuned.